How you doing, Franco? It's a little wet today. I think you're gonna stay here, okay? Welcome to Las Mesas. We are in Honduras. My name is Casey Bauer, and I'm glad you're here with me this morning. Today I'm going to be shooting a roll of Ilford Pan 50 on my Hasselblad. So at this exposure here, I have it set to f11 on bulb mode because my film is quite slow at 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this at 8 seconds. I'm starting to lose this fog here, so I better hurry up. Very peaceful morning. Seen a couple people walk by. It's mushroom hunting season here, so saw some girls running through, and they're probably out looking for mushrooms. Let's see if we can find some sort of composition down in here. This is an old forest, and unfortunately a lot of the trees were chopped down here recently, so a lot of the big trees are gone, which is unfortunate, but it's life, and just trying to capture what I can in the meantime. So at this particular exposure, I'm looking at an EV value of 10, and so we're looking at about 8 seconds. So the time is currently 5:47, and it's still early, but a lot of the really good light with the soft mist coming through the trees is gone. Luckily I was able to get a few shots with that feature. The thing about these kind of forests is it's beautiful no matter what, so regardless of the fog or whatever. I've come here and made images at midday, which is when supposedly you're not supposed to take pictures. But you know, use whatever light you have and be creative with it, and you can create some interesting photographs. Check out these leading lines here at the road. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see if I can get a shot with these lines, with these ruts in the road going through the image, and the trees on the side. See how this comes out. Ya de vuelta.
Ya vamos de vuelta, sí. Hola, dejaron unos árboles aquí, vamos ahí.
Ah,
sí.
está
Así
bueno.
es.
Está
Pero
bueno.
está mañaneado, ¿verdad?
Sí, las 4:30.
Sí. Se mira que va a ser sol.
Sí, no, eso es lo bueno.
Sí.
Sí.
Bueno, siempre lo vemos.
Bueno, que le vaya muy bien. I can't help but take this shot here with the Land Cruiser. The light breaking through. Just too good to pass up. Okay, so I have one more photo. This is actually my second day out here shooting. I started the roll yesterday at the end of shooting some color, and thought, you know, I'd love to just be able to shoot something and develop it and scan it and maybe do some contact prints, be able to see it right away. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. Should have these results today actually, but this forest is just beautiful. I haven't seen any mushrooms. I would think most of them would be gone at this point. People are pretty good about finding them and snatching them up. But let's see what we can find. And there you have it. That concludes the roll, Pan 50F. Unfortunately, this forest was chopped with permission by the government to sell the wood, even though this is a protected area. And so part of what I'm trying to do here is just capture the beauty and also show the reality of it. You can just see trees all around, and then here just gone, nothing. And it takes a while to recover. So, but if you look at this scene here, what I'm trying to do is capture basically where this old forest ends and where it was chopped down. So I'd say it was a pretty successful morning. Got some pretty good pictures, I think. We'll get back to the house and we will develop that roll and see what we got. Welcome to my office. It's been a few days since I shot Pan 50 in Las Mesas, and I have the results here. So thankfully all 12 of my images came out. And I want to talk a little bit about my post-processing. So my development process starts in a Patterson tank. Basically the negatives go on here, chemicals go in. I use D76 as my developer, water as a stop bath, and a normal fixer to fix the images. After that, what I do is I take these negatives and I scan them, and so they go in my flatbed scanner. It's not even a film scanner, but it works. It's not ideal, but for these purposes, for sharing it online, for showing it to you guys, it works fine. So that's what I'm using right now. I plan on upgrading in the future. I've used DSLRs before, not really gotten the results that I like, so something I need to work on, but that's all part of the process. Now once I have the images scanned and have them in the computer, basically what I do is I do general touch-ups, so adjusting my black and white levels, contrast here and there, and every once in a while some dodging and burning. My basic rule of thumb is that if I can do it in the darkroom, I have no problem doing it in Lightroom or Photoshop. I do a lot of work in the darkroom with 35mm prints, so I have an example here of a photo from St. Pancras Station in London, and you can see this is just a normal print. I think I probably used a level 3 or 3.5 multi-grade filter to add a little contrast to that, and I like that image. I decided to try doing some solarization with it, and it's a bit much. It's not really something that is usable, but it's pretty cool to kind of learn those processes and just experiment, be creative. So there are several parts of the workflow where I prefer a hybrid workflow. That would be an example using solarization, because it's tricky to do in the darkroom. And so if I can do it on the computer, have a lot more control, not waste as much money in paper and chemicals, then that's something that I'm all for. Basically what it comes down to is use whatever you have at your disposal to create the image that you want to create. Oftentimes for me that is exclusively working in the darkroom. An example would be this print here that I shot of my wife. This is when we were dating, and this is in an old pine forest here in Honduras. I just love the tones of this. This is on Ilford warm tone paper. I love the way the trees are replicated there. And I just think it's a really cool thing to hold one of these darkroom prints and just see the level of detail that it can give you. That's something I honestly have a hard time replicating in digital, and for that reason I enjoy working with film and specifically in the darkroom. Of the 12 images that I shot, unfortunately 5 of them did not come out the way I would have liked. On 2 of them I missed focus. These 2 were of my wife and my dog, and I was in a bit of a hurry and I just forgot to readjust the focus and missed it there. So that's a bummer, but that happens, and that's how you learn. Next time you remember, refocus. Aside from that, I have another 3 images that got messed up. They were underexposed, and what that comes down to is reciprocity failure. So on a low ISO speed film, you need to be really careful about your exposure, especially doing long exposures. And so what I really needed to do was take into account reciprocity failure and adjust my exposure to make them longer. I failed to do that, and the result are these images, which I will show you now, that really did not come out the way I would have liked because they are a little underexposed, which means I had to push them in post-processing to get anything workable, and the grain is not clean. They just don't work. They're not usable images. That is frustrating. At the same time, it's good because you learn, and next time the chances of making the same mistake is a lot less. For these images, obviously I used my Hasselblad here. Love this camera. It's with a 80mm 2.8 planar lens, and I just love the simplicity of it. I can stay in the moment while I'm shooting, not distracted by the tech. Of course, sometimes I forget to refocus, but I really love shooting with this camera, big negative, the 6x6, and what I tend to shoot with for landscapes is f11, and that gave me an exposure between 1 second to 8 seconds, which is fine for this type of forest because there was not a lot of movement, there's no wind that day, but once again you need to be really careful with your exposure. I really like shooting f11 with this lens. I think it gives a really good range of focus, but not too deep, and with Pan 50, it gives me a really nice fall off into a sort of, it's almost like it's drawn with pencil. I really like the effect of this. And I first discovered that shooting in Sequoia National Park in California, and just loved the results I got from it. You can see in these images here, it's very unique. It's a very interesting way to replicate the black and white tones, and something that I really enjoy. If I were to go out and do this again, the only thing I would change is to take into account reciprocity failure. Be really careful with my shutter speeds, because with film, you don't know until later if you got it right. And if you're not there anymore, well, that makes things tough. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to leave any comments on this video. I sure would love to hear from you. I'm also on Instagram as caseybaueroriginals, so feel free to check that out if you'd like to see more of my work. Thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.